Things are heating up in the world of college football, so it's so hot that it's never too early to talk position battles. QB always reigns supreme, so we're going to do a little Name Your Starting QB College Edition. Some big-time programs with some big looming QB battles as fall practices get underway all across the country. The notable ones that we are looking at: Ohio State, Alabama, Colorado, and UNC, all with some decisions to make for some teams that hope to make some big-time noise this upcoming football season. Our QB, Danny Kannell, locked in with us to help us make the call on who should start. And I want to begin actually with Michigan, who's coming off what you can consider certainly a disappointing 8-5 year. They certainly could use better QB play to help right a lot of the wrongs they saw last year. Of course, you have Bryce Underwood there, who was the highly touted 5-star. It feels like he should just go ahead and get the job over Mikey Keene, who transferred in from UCF and also played at Fresno State. Does it feel like it's Underwood's job, right?
So, Zach, this one's interesting because I think people are sleeping on Mikey Keene, who is a starter that transferred in from Fresno State into Michigan. And he's sort of like, we see that in the NFL, like the Browns. They have Joe Flacco, and then they've got Shador, and they've got Dylan Gabriel. And the expectation is Joe Flacco is probably going to start. And then when those young rookies are ready to go, then you make the change. I think you might be seeing that at Michigan, especially the way the schedule sets up. They've got an easy game week 1, but week 2 on the road at Oklahoma. I wouldn't be surprised if Sharon Moore and that offensive staff go with Mikey Keene to start the season, sprinkle in Bryce Underwood a little bit and some run packages, but don't fully hand them the reins to the total offense and give them the starting role until a little bit deeper in the season. And if they do start hot, I don't think they would be afraid to play both quarterbacks. Like, keep Bryce Underwood in sort of a limited role, have some packages for him, because he still is a true freshman. Spring was a little bit dicey, and I think if I'm the coaches at Michigan, I go with somebody who's got a lot more experience, who can run the system a little bit more smoothly. So I think Mikey Keene actually might be the starter early in the season before they hand the reins over to Bryce Underwood.
But, Danny, you're paying Underwood a whole lot of money in NIL to be there at Michigan, and you have him on the bench maybe for the beginning of the season. Is that an indictment, you think, of Underwood's readiness to play college ball, or is it that Keene would just be that good that he deserves? And I feel the fans certainly probably want to see Underwood.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, if this was, we were out in the sandlot and we were picking teams, you'd pick Bryce Underwood 10 times out of 10. He's going to have more athleticism. He's got a better arm. The upside is there. But you also don't want to scar a young quarterback by throwing him out there before he's ready. And this is not an indictment on Bryce Underwood. As we go through some of these other quarterback battles, you'll hear me say, like, if there's a true freshman, not even a redshirt freshman, but a true freshman who's never taken a snap in a live game, my tendency as the head coach, and I think this is where Sharon Moore and that offensive staff lean, is to go with somebody who you know exactly what you're going to get. The floor is there. Let's just say Bryce Underwood is thrown out there in the Wolves in Norman, Oklahoma, and he throws a couple interceptions. All of a sudden, the panic creeps in, and Michigan fans are saying, we spent too much money on this young quarterback. I think you want to protect him a little bit mentally. Try to make sure you set him in a position to succeed as opposed to throwing him in the Wolves. Everybody responds differently to adversity, and maybe he goes out there and he lights it up and he's the starter from day one. But typically, first-year starting quarterbacks, especially true freshmen, struggle. They're a little bit overwhelmed. So I would try to put him in a position to succeed by waiting. We'll see if the Michigan staff does that. But that's the hunch I have, that Mikey Keene might start early.
So Wolverines with decisions to make. Their rival Ohio State also in that same boat. The defending national champs trying to decide between Julian Sayin or Lincoln Kienholz. Is it Sayin's battle to lose, you could say?
Yeah, this is one of those ones, Zach, where Ryan Day is saying all the right things as far as it's a competition, but I really feel like this is going to be Julian Sayin's job. Remember, he was a quarterback who committed to Alabama, highly sought after, and then when Nick Saban retired, boom, he hopped in the portal and went straight to Columbus, was there all last season, able to watch and learn and pick up the system and watch Will Howard kind of develop as a leader and watch him perform and learn in the classroom. And not to mention everybody you've heard, including when he stepped on on campus in Columbus, from the minute he's been there, it's all been positive. Like Julian Sayin looks the part. He prepares the part. So I do feel like this is his job to lose. And boy, does it help. Whoever wins this job, where it's him or Lincoln Kienholz, they're going to have a luxury of throwing to Jeremiah Smith. So my advice to Julian Sayin would be, anytime you're in trouble, find Jeremiah Smith on the outside. I don't care if he's double covered, just give it in the vicinity of him. He's probably going to come down with it. And boy, it's going to get off to a fast start against Texas. There's not much room for error, but I do think this is Julian Sayin's squad.
Yeah, a great security blanket and someone like Jeremiah Smith can make your life a whole lot easier. From one big-time program to another, now we look at Alabama, who's deciding between Ty Simpson, Austin Mack, and Keelon Russell. We say 3 names, but I feel like this one is truly just like, okay, it's got to be Ty Simpson's job.
I'm with you, Zach. And like, if it's not now, when is it? Because remember, he's been battling in these quarterback competitions for several years now. They gave him an opportunity, Nick Saban's last year, to unseat Jalen Milroe, gave him a start against South Florida. It didn't go great. Maybe it was a little bit ahead of his time, but I give him credit for sticking around. But because he's stuck around, because he's been there, I feel like he's by default a leader in the locker room, which is a lot to ask a young player like Keelon Russell to come in and perform. Austin Mack, I had high hopes for. He came in with Washington. Maybe he gets a boost because Ryan Grubb, the old coordinator with Kalen DeBoer there a couple years ago, is back with him now in Tuscaloosa, which I think is a huge benefit for whoever's playing quarterback. But I'm with you. I think this has to be Ty Simpson's job. The one question I have about him is he just a practice player? Because everybody says he looks great in practice, but he's been given opportunities in the game, hasn't been able to wrestle away that starting job from anybody. This year, it feels like he's going to get it. I just don't know what you're going to get on that big stage. The good news is for Bama fans, I do think there's pretty good options behind him, but I think this is Ty Simpson's opportunity finally coming for him to be the starter.
Yeah, that one may be a little bit easier for Kalen DeBoer to make a decision than when it looks like for Coach Prime over at Colorado, trying to decide between Julian Lewis and Kaidon Salter. He didn't really tip his hand too much at Big 12 Media Days when talking about his QB situation. How do you feel about the room?
Boy, I tell you, Zach, that was like the ultimate poker play, too, because everyone's wondering which quarterback is he going to bring to media days because you want to bring your starter. He brings both, introduces them both to the media and says, I still don't know. Obviously, Julian Lewis, the young 5-star, again, another freshman there. Kaidon Salter comes in from Liberty. Here's why I think it's going to be Kaidon Salter. The Colorado offensive staff, the ones that I have talked to, have said, we want to run the football. They were last in the country rushing the football last year because they could rely on Shedeur Sanders to make every throw in the book. Now, with both new quarterbacks, I think they want to run the football, and Kaidon Salter brings a dimension in the run game that I think they want to utilize early. Similar to what is happening, I think, at Michigan, too, though. I don't think it means the end for Juju Lewis. I think they'll have a package of plays for him because part of the recruiting process, I'm sure, was we're going to give you opportunity to play. But early in the season, I think they give this team to Kaidon Salter. You know what he's done. In fact, a couple years ago at Liberty, had an undefeated season, looked great. Last year was a little bit of setback. Some question how happy he was having to stay at Liberty another year. I think Kaidon Salter's the guy for Colorado, but I do think Julian Lewis will see the field some too. Yeah, Lewis certainly has to figure is the future if he's not going to be in the immediate present right here for this upcoming season. Now let's turn over to North Carolina. And of course, all right, what is going to happen for year number 1 for the Tar Heels with Coach Belichick? Is he going to go with Max Johnson or is he going to go with Gio Lopez? Zach, I have no idea on this one. I really don't. I feel like Max Johnson would have been the guy. He was playing pretty good early last season for the Tar Heels, but he had a massive leg injury that he's still been recovering from. It's been kind of flying under the radar. I just wonder how much that could impact this quarterback race. And one of the reasons they went to South Alabama and pulled in Gio Lopez to give you at least somebody to compete with Max Johnson and what I think probably ends up being the day 1 starter for Bill Belichick. This is probably one of the biggest unknowns in college football is what is the greatest coach we've seen on an NFL sideline do on a college football sideline? And along with that mystery comes who the heck is playing quarterback? What type of system could they run? Quietly, they've amassed a pretty good portal class. They're top 10 in the country according to 24/7 transfer portal rankings. They're number 3 in the ACC. They've got some pretty good players, but they didn't get that big name in the quarterback portal. So they're relying on somebody who did start all last year, put up pretty good numbers on a team that struggled somewhat. So I do think it's Gio Lopez, but I wouldn't be surprised. Again, this might be a year you see multiple quarterbacks play for Bill Belichick the minute Gio Lopez struggles. Max Johnson at least gives you that floor of a veteran pocket passer who can give you, exactly what you're looking for. The other interesting thing I wasn't aware of, they're all left-handed quarterbacks. He has 3 lefty quarterbacks on his roster, which is pretty unique. He said he's never had a left-handed quarterback in the NFL. Just a little bit of a quirky aspect to the Carolina Tar Heels, who nobody knows what to expect, but we know it's going to be a lefty playing QB.
Yeah, Bill Belichick having to adjust to life in college. We'll have to see who he brings out for his QB with all these fall practices getting underway. Football season is very, very close. Danny Kannell, thank you so much for being our Name Your QB and making the call. You should make the call and watch Cover 3, because when it comes to college football, I really do not think you'll find anything else better out there for your listening pleasure. Watch, subscribe, scan that QR code.